When somebody doesn't have a job, it's not just that they don't have a paycheck. They don't have their path to the American dream. How do you create jobs? Barbara Boxer believes the way to create jobs is to spend money in Washington, borrow money in Washington, regulate from Washington, tax more. I believe California is the test case of what happens when government gets big, taxes get high, regulations get thick, entitlements get rich. We're destroying jobs. We're destroying jobs in this state every day. It is why we have 20 counties with unemployment above 15%. I have been to communities in our state, the Golden State. I have been to communities with 19% unemployment, 25% unemployment. These are communities that are devastated. And believe it or not, the U.S. Senate has a huge impact on our ability to create jobs in this state. So I believe we have to create jobs in the private sector, and I think that means in many cases that government has to tax a whole lot less, regulate a whole lot less, and give, in particular, small business owners and family-owned businesses a helping hand, because it is those companies that give most of us our start. They gave Frank his start. They gave me my start. They give 2/3 of the people in our nation their start. And we are crushing them in this state. Secondly, I think Barbara Boxer, we have deficits. Everybody talking about deficits and debt is sort of popular now. You know, it's fashionable now. I mean, people in Washington have woken up that $13.6 trillion worth of debt going up from $10.7 trillion in 2 short years alone is completely unsustainable. But there's a big disagreement about how to deal with the debt. Barbara Boxer believes that the way to deal with the debt is to raise more revenue. In other words, tax more. Her view is that Washington has a revenue problem. My view is that Washington has a spending problem. And in fact, the spending, which has been going on for a very long time through Republican and Democrat administrations, I think a lot of career politicians, honestly, of both parties get to Washington. They stay there too long. They think the way to stay in office is to give taxpayer money away to get reelected. The government has grown every year for 60 years, but it has grown particularly quickly in the last 2 years. And while Californians deal with record unemployment, the highest unemployment rates in this state for 70 years, while more Californians are in poverty today than ever on record, Washington, D.C. has added 100,000 federal government bureaucrats in the last 12 months alone. We must hold Washington accountable for how they spend our money, and that means we need to know how they spend our money, no new taxes. If somebody has a spending problem, you don't send them more money. You start demanding, where is the money we've already sent you, and what is it being spent on?
Because it is as important, if not more important, to recognize good as to fight evil, I think you all of you who support Israel need to send a letter of thanks to Canada, to the Canadian consulate here in Los Angeles. Canada was denied a spot on the Security Council because its support of Israel is that strong. And the United States did not fight for Canada to have a place on the Security Council. This is one reason of so many that we are worried about the next election and why it's so significant. 2 promises that I made. One is that I would incorporate your questions, which I did. I just want you to know, wherever possible, obviously. And the other, that you be out by 8 o'clock. You've been very generous with your time. I think you have an idea, listening to her, why I got so smitten the first time. And I say this in front of Frank, in the very best sense of the word, but I understood why you were smitten in all senses of the word as well. Will you please thank Calif Fiorina, hopefully our next senator.
Thank you so much. To the people of California, regardless of whether they voted for me or not, but I very much would be honored by anyone's vote, and I think we're going to win most people's vote.
So you see this as a one-issue race then, jobs, the economy?
I think it is a several-issue race, but I think jobs are at the very top of the list. When you have 20 counties with unemployment above 15%, when you have so much of that unemployment that is a result of bad government policy, when we could turn things around with different government policies, yes, jobs is a critical issue, but another critical issue is that we're bankrupting our nation, and we're spending so much money in Washington, D.C. that doesn't help people in California. While we're dealing with 12.4% unemployment, Washington, D.C. has added 100,000 bureaucrats in the last 12 months alone. Those people aren't helping us.
In terms of the jobs issue, I know that you have felt that Barbara Boxer has not done enough for jobs. Although last month she did offer a provision of the small business jobs bill to help small businesses get more credit. In your opinion, is that simply not sufficient?
Well, let's look at what that bill really did. You know, one of the things that you learn when you actually read bills is that the devil's always in the details. And what happened in that small business bill, it could have been a very good small business bill. But instead what happened was the government, in essence, is taking equity positions in community banks. The way that credit supposedly is going to flow to small businesses is because the government is going to become a part owner in community banks. Well, we tried that. It was called the bailout of Wall Street. It didn't work. It didn't work. In fact, since Wall Street was bailed out, something that Barbara Boxer voted for, that I would have opposed, there's been almost $1 trillion worth of credit withdrawn from small businesses and consumers. So that didn't work. That's not the way to get it done. The way to help small businesses is to extend the 2001-2003 tax cuts, which, by the way, Barbara Boxer voted against. Every small business is going to get hit with a tax increase on January 1. Every family-owned business is going to get hit with a 55% death tax on January 1, and every middle-class family in this state is going to get hit with a $1,600 tax increase on January 1. And then we should give small businesses and family-owned businesses some special help. I've proposed payroll tax holidays for small businesses as an example. We need to give help where it really is needed, and that's small businesses and family-owned business. The last thing we need is the government taking equity positions in more banks.
Take one more.
Do you think the lack of jobs is an exclusive problem of California?
No, it's a national.
With a worldwide context?
Well, yes, but we are suffering from higher than average unemployment because of bad government policy. Of course we're going through tough times. We could be coming out of those tough times a lot faster if we were doing the right things, instead of crushing people with a burden of taxation and regulation as we are today.
But California had a Republican government. Still have a Republican government.
I think everyone would agree that California politics has been characterized by very high government, very high taxes, very thick regulations. That's why you see a Democratic mayor of the city of Los Angeles stepping forward and saying we need a 3-year payroll tax holiday to attract businesses back to Los Angeles. It's why you have a Democratic mayor of mayor of Los Angeles saying we need to cut government spending. This isn't about Democrat or Republican. It's pretty clear what has to happen to get the economy going again, and we need to do it. The only trouble is Barbara Boxer has opposed these things for 28 years, so we know where she stands.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Did you see that?